Hello, how's it going? I hope you're all well. Trust everything's going okay for you. The reason I'm doing a review tonight, I don't know if this was recorded. I know this is recorded, so it might seem. The reason I'm doing it is testing out some new equipment, trying a new setup, see how it pans out. And well, I was debating what we do. Have I bought that? Oh, will I try this? Will I try that? And then I thought, you know something? Let's do the daddy of the whole lot. Let's do the big stuff. Because there's Irish whiskey is made up of Jameson and everything else. That's essentially how it is. Let's be honest. There's no getting around it. There's no different way of looking at it. Jameson makes up probably 2/3 of the whole Irish whiskey market, and without it, there probably wouldn't be certainly Irish whiskey probably wouldn't be in the position it is. The thing is, I've noticed this, that lots of people who are interested in whiskey take Irish whiskey and Scotch whiskey and bourbon and so on very seriously. But there's a huge contingent that really couldn't care less. They are literally just buying it to drink. They're not collecting whiskey. They're buying it to drink it and do what people do. And that's what it's supposed to be for. Not casting any aspersions on anyone who collects whiskey. I do it myself, and pretty much everybody I know who drinks whiskey and takes it a little bit more seriously than other people also have a collection. Whiskey is primarily for drinking, but the higher end stuff, people like to have it on the shelf, and again, people also like to invest in it. Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. You can do what you like. If you're willing to spend the money, you're propping up the trade, you're helping people keep the lights on in the distilleries, and you're also employing people and so on. So do what you want. It's your money, and don't be. We're being taken in by PR manipulators and so on. If you want to spend your hard-earned money on whatever you want to spend it on, just spend it and be done with it. And lots of people spend it on this. The promotion of this stuff was phenomenal. The way Irish Distillers, who own this, they own Redbreast and all the other brands, they decided, where are we going to put our money? Where are we going to put our considerable resources behind? Because we're going to get one brand, we're going to fire it at primarily America. Everywhere else came, not as a secondary, but start off bang, put it everywhere, get everyone brand recognition so everyone knew it. Jameson and ginger, Jamo and ginger, put it out as a cocktail, and they spent millions and millions and millions of pounds promoting it, and it worked. You had singers singing about it, they had fantastically good promotion, and it went across really well, and on it went. Good on them. That's the success of Jameson. Now, Jameson has a very, very long and distinguished history. I'm sure anyone who's even had a cursory glance at any of the background knowledge to this knows that Jameson have been distilling in various guises, Two Brothers distilleries and all that kind of stuff, for a long time in Dublin. Originally came from Scotland. If anyone who watches the show, Irish Whiskey Review, catch it every Saturday night, me and Justin talking rubbish. Anyone who knows, John Jameson was a Scot. He came from Alloa in Clackmannshire. And we were over at the Whiskey Festival over there last year, and heading over again hopefully very soon. So he's buried there, and he was quite a proud Scot actually. He, by all accounts, he happened to marry into the Steen family, who were whiskey barons. He went over to Dublin, ended up taking over a distillery, and the rest is history. the thing on the bottle, it's 1780 took over, just looking at that. But Cine Me Too, if you ever get a chance of doing the distillery experience in Dublin, the Jameson Bow Street distillery experience, they make a big thing about Cine Me Too, you know, means without fear, and they want to create whiskey without fear. I don't think there's anything really scary about making whiskey unless you're not 100% sure of what you're doing. Then you may kill people, or, well, you could potentially blow the still to pieces, or vacuum pack it, and that's probably more dangerous where it cracks in. You always have a vacuum seal, I think. Vacuum valve. Is that what you call it? Well, it must be a vacuum valve. Must be. But what is it like? Now, I'm going to taste this in a way that's never been designed to be tasted, okay? It's always, Jameson is an everyday drinking whiskey. It's a whiskey that you can stick ice cubes in, you can have it with Coke or ginger ale or anything you want. And again, I sometimes despair when I see some of these reviewers who go on about that only are interested in drinking bottles that are really, really exclusive, these days really quite expensive and really hard to get your hands on. Anyone who wants to buy it, anywhere where alcohol's sold essentially, can buy a bottle of this. And when you're talking about these bottles and you're talking about whiskey, it's a reference point for people watching this kind of thing that they can pick up, go on, and they can say, oh right, I understand maybe what the guy who's doing the review is talking about. So this is not a mark of the whiskey as such, and sometimes it's a mark of me, and that way you get the judge. You can pick it up and nose it and say, oh, all right, okay, I can get the smell of that. So when people talk about, oh, I've got a very rare bottle, there's only 150 bottles of it in the world, and I'm reviewing this, chances are the people watching it will never get to taste it. Never get to taste it. So it becomes much harder to gauge and judge what the reviewer is actually talking about when you'll never taste what it is they're reviewing. So everybody can get this. This will be chill filtered. It'll have plenty of colouring in it to standardise it. Green bottle. We are still allowed green bottles because some places have them banned. So, on the nose, it's very fresh. It's quite floral. It's quite grainy, but there's a fresh orange juice note to it. Fresh light citrus. Green in some ways, like a wood bark. And it's that floral note. So it's quite light, it's fairly delicate. It's totally inoffensive. You know, no one's going to be offended by the nose of Jameson. You go on, you take it in back again, little touch of vanilla, but it's almost like a vanilla icing sugar. You know, it's kind of that slightly overly sweet vanilla-esque powder. You know, I'm sure there's baking, something you get on a baking show that you put on. It's got like icing sugary with a touch of flavouring to it. You know. So again, it's quite floral, coming from the grain element of it, and pretty much what you would expect. There's nothing offensive about it, not a huge amount of nose to it, but it's not designed for that. Now it's bottled at 40%. I mean, that's a pretty nice label, I have to say. I do, you know, nice textured label, sort of standard thing. Now, quite harsh. There's no real refinement with it. Not a great mouthfeel. But what you always get, and what's always put on the label of this stuff, and this is, if I'm totally honest, this is what pisses me off, because it's smooth. And this is what they always brand Jameson. It's always put down, it's smooth, very smooth, smooth. It makes it sound as if it's like Barry White trying to chat somebody up. It's very smooth, you know. I don't know what the word smooth actually means. I don't know what people, if people turn around and definitely say that tastes of black currants, or it tastes of this, or whatever, you have a definite reference point. But when someone says something smooth, it means so many different things to so many people. It can mean mouthfeel and texture. It can mean balance. It can mean harshness, whether something has too much alcohol in it, and therefore you've got the alcohol burn. How delicate their palate is, because some people's palates just can't take whiskey. Just can't. They've no experience with it. They may have taken a spirit here and there, but they don't drink neat whiskey. And if they'll drink too much, and then, oh, it's very harsh. Well, it's not harsh. You've just taken too much for overloaded your palate. So I don't know what people mean by the word smooth. It seems to be a generic term for lots and lots and lots of different things. In this instance, what they mean is it's quite balanced and inoffensive, essentially. That's what they're taking it as. I mean, texturally, mouthfeel, it's really not bad. It's not great, but it's not terrible. There's an awful lot thinner and more watery feeling whiskies about. Taste-wise, there's not a huge amount of taste off this. Again, slight vanilla-esque, slightly sweet, woody elements to it. There's not really a huge amount of taste to it, but it's inoffensive. It's quite delicate. It's set up for people to mass consume this. You can quite easily buy a bottle of this for not an awful lot of money. You can bring it home, and this is what people do. I've heard about bars now breathalyzing people before they go in, or checking people before they go in, to see if they are prinking, pre-drinking, sometimes referred to as preloading. Well, this is not a new thing. Surely pretty much everybody did this for ages. You went and had a drink before you went out, went to your mates, had a couple of drinks, when you could buy a bottle of this stuff for not very much money, and then have a few drinks, get a little bit tipsy before you went out, and then had to spend big money. That's not a new thing. And trying to prevent it is just, well, I don't understand. I don't see why that would be something. You wouldn't be doing it in a place that I'd want to be drinking in. That's all I would say. If I walked in and someone was wanting to check to see whether I had some drink before I went in, I don't think I would bother. It's not really that sort of place. But the likes of this, they've marketed it at young people, or people who don't particularly want to spend an awful lot of money on their whiskey, and that's perfectly acceptable. It's exactly what it should be. People who want to move on and become more experienced at their whiskey, they've ample opportunity to do it, but it's going to cost them money, and it's going to get an awful lot more expensive. Whiskey's just going to get so much more expensive. So handy hint, kids, start buying stuff now, because in a little bit you ain't going to be able to afford it. That's just the long and the short of it. It's coming. You can see it coming. Crop prices are going up. Energy prices are going up. Inflation's going up. Interest rates are going up. So all of those distilleries that have borrowed a huge amount of money to bridge the gap from here to here their interest rates are going up. Everything's going up. And it's going to be much, much, much more expensive. Just is. So when people are running around knocking the likes of Jameson because they're drinking £200 bottles now, well, they hope they bought plenty of the £200 bottles, because they're going to be an awful lot more expensive very shortly. So, what do I think of Jameson? It's inoffensive. It's not going to hurt anybody. If someone turns around and says, "Oh, I love Irish whiskey," and this is what they're drinking, it's better than Proper 12. This is easy to drink. It's cheap. Not a lot of flavour in it, so I can't really give you reference points as such, but it's nice and light. It's got a little bit of sweetness, quite green, little elements of vanilla on the tongue. Again, it's quite fresh. A little woody element to it. On the finish, there's a slight jam note that appears in this finish. It's a little bit sweeter and a little bit more of a kick sweetness wise at the finish. But finish there is, it goes and ups. This is cheap. People like it. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Have to give it a score, 5 out of 10. It's not. It does what it says it's supposed to do. Ain't nothing wrong with it, but it's not really for someone who likes experimenting and doing a bit more with whiskey. It's not really for me. But if you're drinking it, if you've paid for it, and you're enjoying it, excellent. Keep up the good work. And yeah, just keep up the good work. Catch you later, guys. Remember, hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything. Just hit the subscribe button and get the viewing figures up and so on. So thank you very much for joining me. Watch Irish Whiskey Review, me and Justin, every Saturday night, pretty much. And catch you again soon. Take care.